again here at the ECS Magazine Hangout. We already started the night here with a full panel here to talk about a really cool topic tonight. Before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody that I'm your host, Primo, and this is Reggie over to my left, the Lord of ECS Magazine. We are here every Saturday at 8 p.m. for the ECS Magazine Hangout, sponsored by Control Freak. That is controlfreakcompany.com. And we talk about different topics about the car community. So if you're somebody that runs a car show, if you drive a car, if you turn wrenches, if you have anything to do with the car community, we'd love to have you on and to discuss what you're all about. So Reggie, do you want to say anything to start off the show, or you're good? Okay. So next up, we're going to go to our resident car show master here, Joel. Joel, introduce yourself and give me your deets, buddy.
Hi, I'm Joel Chappell, and I love car shows, and I run a website called NewEnglandAutoShows.com that attempts to list as many car shows happening in the New England area as I could possibly find out about.
So your moniker really is the first hit's free and the rest are going to cost you.
No, I do not charge for listing any car shows whatsoever. That it is a free service for all folks running a car show to get it on my list. And right now we have over 275 plus confirmed car shows that are on a list. And that is not including the additional possibly 100 weekly, bi-weekly and monthlies that are on the list as well. Which
means that he gets no sleep. So next up on the list here, next we have Mr. Morgan of Nexus. I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and you are no stranger to the show as well. And introduce yourself and give us the details on your thing that you bring to the table.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me back. Yes, Dave Morgan, Nexus, New England. Been doing the car show scene for well over 10 years now. Old school at it, as everybody here, and just having a great time getting back into the car show season just last weekend. But just covering everything from nuts to bolts about the car shows. Having a good time doing that, and I'm jonesing to get back into it. It's fun to be back into it at a normal car show season, and it's exciting. It really is exciting.
So here's my thing. When are we going to see a video for the last Don Claddy event in the cabin? When's it coming out? Do we see anything?
You will. Yes. Well, the sad thing was Tuesday I decided to have a case of food poisoning.
Ew.
So I was out of commission for a couple of days. So I was out in a fetal position, just kind of in bed, hoping not to die.
Yes,
so I was way behind on that. I finally put up all the pictures that we did. So I took over. I swore to myself I was going to change it up this year and I wasn't going to take as many pictures as I usually did. But I said, something, I was there early, got there before the old place opened. I had the whole place to myself. I was the only photographer there. So I ran around the place, took a picture of every car there. Nice. And I said, well, that's great. I'll start posting them, uploading them. Well, Monday came, Tuesday, all of a sudden I'm sick, dreadfully sick. Wow. That knocked me on the sidelines. Finally got those pictures up. So now I'm going to work on the video and get going with that. So, was
it the food from the car show? That's what I got to ask.
No. This is my own home cooking. I didn't look at what I thought was opened. And I was like, that was open last week. Yeah, maybe two or 3 weeks ago, maybe. I don't know.
So when the mayonnaise turns a certain color, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You see the what was it? What was it? The Naked Gun, I think, when he opens the freezer, the refrigerator, he smells the Chinese food, and then he's like, "Oh, what the hell when that place closed? The Chinese place closed. I don't know, a couple of years ago." Yeah, right. That's how it felt in my gut, even though it tasted going down. But anyways,
mine always think about that movie. What is it? Minority Report. When he opens the fridge, I've done something like that before. But we'll move on from that. No problem. So Vinny Kayada says, hey guys, good to have you on. Vinny, Tony Torres, old boy, laugh out loud. Welcome to the show, Tony, Sam. evening, everyone. How's it going, Sam? Joe, hey, and he added, "What's up, boys? What is up, Joe? Good to see you on tonight." So the topic, and I know that Joel is probably over there chomping at the bit on this one, waiting for me to bring it up. But something that we've had a debate about in the past, and I'm going to bring up some other topics. We're going to get. I'm hoping to get to all my points tonight. If I don't get to it, I don't. But I think we're going to have a good discussion regardless. Is what were car shows like then? So in the 80s, the 70s, the 80s. I mean, how far ever back we have some sort of memory about, and the 90s. Towards what we have today, the advent of the internet, the idea that now we can have the invention of the pop-up meet, the idea that there's it can be little or no planning to be able to make something right now happen and have a bunch of cars get together. Are those pop-up meets considered car shows? Are they actually just, is a meet something completely different than a car show? Do we delineate further from the aspect of car show has trophies, meets are a bunch of cars coming together? What's the difference between a professional version, what's not? But I just, there's a ton of different areas that this concept can go from. And that's the other thing is there's, I want to say the attitudes that are involved in that stuff versus, and I know when I grew up as a kid, what it was like, and maybe I was a little bit biased because I was, a youngling, if you will, during the 70s doing that kind of stuff. Versus I know what the difference of it is now. But I really want to get you guys' thoughts. And you know what? I'm going to make Joel like chomp at the bit a little bit here. And David, give me some of your input there, because I know what me and Joel are going to have some great discussion. So, but I want to hear what you think about this topic, David.
All right, so we'll break it down a little bit as far as new versus old. I remember when I first started going to car shows and everything, I had a beat up 78 Rally Sport that wouldn't let you in regardless, because it was rusted out and everything. It just had a big engine in it that it went fast as hell, but it wasn't anything pretty. So I would go and they'd turn you away, of course, and I just went in as a spectator. So kind of just, that's how it was. Most of even the cruise nights, most of it was just car shows and cruise nights. You didn't have cars and coffees and stuff like that. So yeah, and they were dedicated. You had to have something a little bit more special, not just something that's driven daily on the streets. You kind of had to have something that was a specialty vehicle to be in a car show. In my aspect of looking at it back then, it was something you had in your garage and you just brought it out on a weekend or a cruise night, and that was it. And then it tucked away for the week, and that was that. And then you had, you went into the 90s and everything. Then the import scene kind of got really big, where they had the whole meet idea. That's where I got the whole idea for the meet thing. Was you went out to a meet and you saw everybody and everything, and whatever you had, you brought it down there to show it off. It didn't matter what it was. Right. Those exploded, but those also come with problems because they're unorganized, they're unsupervised, and usually there's a lot of places you don't have permission to be there. So, some places don't mind. Some places they will kick you out before you even put out the first posting. Hey, we're having a meet down here on such and such a road. No. But as far as going, does what we have now versus what we had then, is it beneficial? Yeah, when it's done right. It's always when it's done right. You can have a meet, sure, as long as you have somebody ask permission to use the property, and you have somebody supervise it. That's what I always tell these people when they say, "Oh, pop-up meets." Just go and ask for permission. Right. If they say no, okay, fine. You're going to find somebody say, "Hey, all right, you have permission? Sure. What do you have for rules? What can we do here?" Well, you can just park your car. Fine. Let that be known. Anybody does something stupid, you're out. Something like that. Meets are great. Cruise nights are great. Cars and coffees are, I think, are one of the coolest things. I mean, that's our primo. That's how we met and everything. So you go to those things, 7:30 in the morning. By 10 o'clock, you're all done. You can go home and have breakfast and mow your lawn and whatever, and then get ready for the day, for Monday and everything. But as far as the car shows themselves, they've all become kind of down. That's where I'm getting at a lot of this. A lot of car shows are now they're either too inclusive, or they just let They have too many categories.
Well, let me get. So we're big one here. Javier just said year in the comments. So how you doing? Import Evolutions, probably that's a New England staple car show. Probably the biggest thing that we have in New England for a car show. It's the staple event. He's now expanded out to, I think they just did Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big deal. So congratulations to him for his success. Excuse me. But one thing I wanted to go back to was in the 80s, and I want to say most of the 90s, you just said something that was very important to me, which I remember distinctly, is if you didn't have a car that met a certain standard, you got turned away. We used to do a car show that was in Cordage Park in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And it was a weekly thing, kind of like, oh, Rodney, how's it going, Rodney? Good to see you, buddy. So we do these events, and if you drove up in a car, there'd be guys that had these, this is kind of brand new tuner scene stuff. So tuner cars that they actually got complaints when we had guys that would show up with anything that was not domestic or a muscle car. I mean, these guys were literally driving drag cars that, trucking them in and doing that kind of thing. That was a meet. And when they drove them in, they drove them into specific areas you got to pass through, and you came there. If you didn't meet that certain pass through rule, you had a kind of an overflow area, and that's where you were sent. So yeah, it was really weird to have a time when that was the norm. And that really kind of started floating about and changing. I want to say after Fast and Furious, probably 2001, 2002, somewhere in that area, you started to get these events where people were coming in and they were driving to the show, and whatever came in was it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of those muscle car events did stop because they were getting overrun by this import scene, and they really didn't like the mindset. I remember distinctly people telling me, like, they're taking over all our events. What do we do about this? And we're like, they're just, the guys would come in and say, they're just our cars. They're not, they work with us to be the fight. The second thing, which I thought was really cool that you said there, was the daily driver. When we were in the 70s, 80s, 90s, especially early 90s, your car that you brought out to the car show was not a daily driver. It was dedicated to being a car show car. You only brought it out on the weekends. You did not. I mean, the idea, I remember having somebody that was
sometimes it might be just a parade.
Right, exactly. So there was a guy that would look at me, and I remember him saying, I said, I'm going to do my car, but I only have the one car. And he goes, it'll never be a car show. Don't bother. And I was like, what? And he goes, you can't have a daily driver that's a car show car. And I just thought that, and I've heard that over and over and over again, many times since he said it, but I remembered it so distinctly. And then, like I said, with that 2003, 2004, and I know that Fast and Furious fueled it, was the idea that to have a cool car, the idea was the car that you had was your daily driver. The idea that the car that you brought to the show was the same that you drove on the street, was the same that you raced, when you street raced or whatever you did with it. And that just, so few cars can measure up to kind of the concepts that we see as cars today. And that's the thing is one thing you brought up too, was what I call meat drama. The idea that these meats have caused problems, and the idea that there are, and I have to say it, legitimate complaints where you go to a meet and somebody would say, your car show looks like a regular Walmart parking lot. And I just was like, it hurts, but you should be learning from that statement. But before I'm going to send it to you, Joel, 2 seconds here. Sam just put, I was just at a 400 car show this morning around here. It's rare to get that many cars at a show here anymore. That's what Sam said. And then Vidman, oh my God, Joel is live on the internet. And Vidman, I'm about to have him add in his 2 cents here too. So Joel, the floor is yours.
About $1.25.
Just keep the show is only 40. I mean, we only have about 45 minutes left. So keep it under, I don't know, 20, 15. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of the meat is actually a lot older than we think it is.
Yes, it is.
And I would point to the movie American Graffiti.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, those type
the
of
street drive.
the street drive. I mean, that's a perfect example of what a meet was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It hasn't changed. Maybe the style of cars have changed,
Right.
but the actual impetus between it or behind it has not changed whatsoever. And I'll agree that I think, back in the day, you're right. Like the 80s, 90s, it was kind of like if you dared bring a car that was less than 25 years old,
right?
What was considered that classic mark, and that's what I consider like the classic mark. I mean, luckily my Corvette falls into that, so I don't feel guilty about bringing it to certain things,
right?
Kind of thing. But I agree that the meat mentality has changed a little bit.
Can I jump in real quick to ask you a question? And this would be something because I want to kind of keep on because each guys are throwing really good topics in. I don't want to skate over them because we're missing some of the good points. Because I remember talking to these older people. We're going to say older people because it kind of works, but so people that were still into cars kind of when I was a young kid, my parents, my in-laws, and they had that thing about going, we went down to that street or strip. Nobody had a phone call. Nobody had anything. You just showed up. And that was it. You knew every Thursday, this is when it's going to happen. And those events always ended up into the crews just driving up and down the street like we used to have, like in up to the 90s, we did it. And
we used to cruise up and down Manchester Elm Street.
Everybody had a main street or an avenue, and you took over all the parking spots, and we drove. But a lot of that still had to do with drag racing. So a lot of these guys muscled up and was like, "Okay, I'm coming here to show off the power that I put into my car." And they go to these events and then they drag race. Now, somewhere in I want to say the 90s, I think we were still doing it in the 80s, but as the 90s came around, that kind of thing changed. To the meet was we're going to go to this parking lot. The parking lot's approved by somebody. Some car club would run it, and there was you no burnouts, no drag racing, none of that stuff was acceptable. Versus the old avenue street drag, which still, like I said, those things still happen today. But when did that thinking change to where that was almost taboo? When do you think that was?
When the advent of 800 megahertz police radios and cell phones, where people could be like around, see and witness that type of situation happening and easily report it.
Yeah, it's becoming easier and easier for them to pick up a cell phone and go, "Hey,
easy for," and I'm sorry, I'm going to use this term. It's easy for a Karen to get upset at this type of situation and go, I don't like these hooligans who are showing up in their car and they might be doing nothing but just hanging out, but it's a bunch of people and it has to be suspicious,
right?
Type of thing. And I think that's really like a late 90s when when I would dare say when Radio Shack started selling cell phones for a penny.
Right.
And when you were basically committing to your 2-year contract kind of thing. So I think that's where it started.
But I think you added something important too. There came a point when we were the word hooligans came into play. So I remember we'd have these events.
But it's always been there. It's always been there. That's never been. I mean, that's going back to the 50s to the type of thing where I'm not going to say like gangs or anything like that, but.
But I remember the time we did these events and it was okay. Nobody cared about I do the Meineke car show or the AutoZone car show. My approval was the manager coming out and going like, "Don't worry, everything's cool." And the cops would show up and be like, "We're in private property, deal with it. It is what it is." But then it became more of I remember my friend did this show, and this was actually I want to say in the 2000s, like 2005 or 6, something like that. My friend does this show on a beachfront thing. It was approved by the town. So he has permits. He has the whole 9 yards, this huge parking lot. It was probably one of the most best coordinated shows. It had a charity involvement in it, but it was in all definition of meat. It had no basic structure. There was nothing, we're just going to collect this, but we're just hanging out. Nobody did anything wrong. And then somebody called the local area and said, these guys were doing burnouts by my house. And it was a lady, and she lived across the lake. I remember this perfectly. And I remember saying, well, that lady doesn't even live anywhere near the show. And that was when they brought it.
Where is that happening?
Right. So the lady complained. They went to their town board meeting or whatever. She showed up and said, these guys are doing burnouts by our house. The sheriff actually came up and spoke for the car show and said it's impossible that they did that. And the local town representative said, we don't care. And they shut it down totally. So he got one event off of it before they said, that's it. No more meeting over there. And things like I said, the Cordish Park meets and junk like that began to break up and stop. And everybody keeps telling me, well, it's because people did burnouts and no, that stuff didn't happen. It was it was either a figment of somebody's imagination or something. It just did. Well, it was too much control.
Playing devil's advocate, there's nothing that says that, people that are on their way to that kind of thing where they might, go, hey, before we hit there, let's have some fun.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't think there's anybody on this panel who hasn't done that since they were 16. Or in some kind of situation where they might have done something in a car that they shouldn't have done. I mean, and if you tell me you're lying, you didn't, you're lying.
Well, Sam just said that too. He said we lost the ability to use a lot here due to that same thing.
Well, one of the quick things that I really wanted to bring up before I lose my $1.25 worth of stuff, one of the fundamental differences that I think that we see, that's different between the then and now is the type of cars, that you don't see anymore, or it's very rare to see.
Somebody's in the house, buddy.
Oh, geez. But I think back in the 70s and the 80s, it was not uncommon to see the brass era cars, the Model Ts, the Model As in abundance, and to the point of hundreds of them at a show. Nowadays, you might see maybe 5 Model A's at a show, unless it's a Concours event, and type of thing. And I think that's really sad, because you have to wonder where are these old Buicks, Cadillacs, Packards? I mean, you see one or two occasionally, but where are they? What happened to these beautiful machines? And why are they not showing up at car shows or events? I mean, they're not going to show up at a meet, obviously.
It's funny because every time I had the A model guys, I said we posted something and they said, you can't post it, you got to put it in the local paper, and if you don't put it in the local paper, we don't see it. But I'm going to welcome somebody else to the chat here. I don't have a visual. He may still be working on it. Can you hear us over there?
And
I'm guessing he might still be. So one of the problems we have with this software, it's really good, but in the same respect, it kind of tries to lock you out. So you have to give it permission, and certain, I guess, phones or apps or certain programs itself can be difficult. So when you get in, if you can hear
loud and clear,
there you go. All right. And feel free to introduce yourself and tell us what you bring to the table, buddy.
I don't bring anything to the table. My name is Javier. Pretty much people know me by Electro, and I run Input Evolution.
Nice. Now, have you been following what we've been talking about so far? Or
yeah, I've been listening.
Good. Do you have it? I mean, obviously, you're somebody that's brought something from, and I really want to say this, from ground zero to being something that is national when it comes to a car show. Is there something that you could look at somebody and say, hey, don't do meets, don't do this, don't do? I mean, was there something they should do, something they shouldn't do? What would you give them input on?
Well, I'll give the same input it's already been labeled, is get permission and using a lot. That's the number one key. Is, again, there's a lot of people that are discouraged to bring their cars out to, say, a car show or a car meet, because they're not sure that it's a legal place to be at.
Right. And I think that's true too, is a lot of people don't want to show up to certain meets if they know that has a history of being broke up by the cops, or normally that person doesn't get permission. So people will tend to blame and say, well, the people aren't showing up because of this. I said, if you've done it before in the past, and then suddenly you're saying, I'm going to follow the rules, you got to understand that people have to learn from that history, right?
Correct.
I think there's also a supreme irony in today's world, in today's folks, especially the guys who are running the meets. We are in such a connected world.
Yeah,
we are so connected, and yet we are so afraid to walk up and get permission to do something, or ask, or like talk to people, or for the love of God, even include like contact information for whatever meet that you're running. It's like almost impossible to contact somebody to directly to say like get more details or something like that on it.
So before we go forward too, because I want to do something real quick. First, Jamie Kelly, what's up, guys? Let everyone know the Summer Send-Off Car Show just opened to pre-registration. Is it jumped off my screen there? But yeah, Summer Send-Off has opened its pre-registration. Joshua Sinitson just made it, was on Miami's Live IG. Okay. Sam, if you're doing a car show, get event insurance for the day. That's very good. That's I just had a conversation with somebody 3 days ago about that and said, hey, did you get insurance? And they go, oh, what's that? And yeah. So it's good just in case unforeseen happens. And Tony, I seen
this comment is great.
Right. That had
great.
Facebook posted at 4 different locations in case they got kicked out. I don't know if that was a real post or not, but that is very true. Javier, you have a bunch of shows coming up. I can never remember all the dates off the top of my head. Would you be so kind as to share everything with us so that people know to come to your show?
Well, I have South Carolina that's coming up towards the end of June. You're gonna put me on the spot and give you some dates.
You know what? If you want to find them later, because that's the thing is I always usually have them, and for some reason I just don't have any of my notes with me right now for the car show.
So we just had the Tampa, Florida one. Yep. June 25th we have in South Carolina at the Columbia Convention Center, and then on July 30th we're doing Jacksonville, Florida. Nice. And then September 10th we're at the DC Center.
Got it. September 10th, DCU Center. So that's the one I'm going to be going to. So
correct. And we have some other we have meets that we're going to be working in South Shore area that we haven't released any dates yet, because obviously we just make sure that we have everything all taken care of with permits, insurance, details, so that way we could give what the youth wants.
Right.
Pretty much.
And you actually have the ones where you guys get together and actually give out turkeys at Thanksgiving and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, we do a Thanksgiving run. Totally different from the show. It's just something that I do every year. A lot of people jump on board and they help us out. On Thanksgiving morning, we go to Boston and Worcester and just give hot meals to the homeless people.
That's awesome. That's the thing is I keep telling people to be, if you want to make an impact on a community and bring back that positive influence, doing those extra steps and taking those are so meaningful. And it's so few people do it. So it's one of those things. I'm so happy that you do it. Every year I see it. It just brings me so much warmth to see the car community and a leader like yourself taking that drive and bringing it out to people and really helping them. So yeah, that's a big thank you to you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up, I got Brandon. You want to introduce yourself and let everybody know what your brand is, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Some of you guys already know who I am, but I am Brandon with Control Freak. What we offer is a wireless Bluetooth controller that allows you to control any 12-volt accessory in your ride via our app that you can get off of the Google Play Store. And we also have a voice command feature. So anything you have on your vehicle is 12-volt accessory-wise, you can control it with your voice. You can do it latched, which means it'll stay on the whole time, or you can do it momentary, which will be a 12-volt pulse.
Nice.
So I will be posting new stuff on the website here pretty quick. If you guys want to check us out on Facebook, it's at Control Freak Co. Or you can look us up on the line with www.controlfreakcompany.com.
And you know what? We're at the 30-minute mark, so I just want to remind everybody that you're watching ECS Hangout here. It's on YouTube, Facebook. We got multiple programs. We tried to do some stuff on Instagram, but it just kind of looks weird. We'll work on that later on. Maybe down the road. Reggie C over there, he's going, I don't know, man. That was a torture test the last time we tested it. But yeah, this is on multiple platforms, and it's a place where car guys, gals, anybody can hang out and talk about cars. We love having people that run car shows, work on car shows, or work on cars. If you're a technician, whatever you do that you bring to the table, we want to make sure that your voice gets heard. So this is an opportunity to bring it out. So go back something. This was something that was said earlier, and we were talking about the quality of the stuff that shows up to kind of some of the meets and the car shows and that kind of thing. There are a lot of events out there that are, I want to say, juried. So there was a lot of thought that goes into vehicles being registered. I noticed that car shows moving into, I want to say 2015, 2016, maybe earlier than that too. They started offering VIP areas. So you paid a little extra, but you had to make sure that the car met a certain standard. Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, obviously we didn't have internet.
I was never.
So you're right. So the point is that you had to be able to say so today you can have a show and you're going to have somebody that says, look, I'm going down to ruin a meet. I've seen it done and it's crazy. But like you were saying, there's some guys out there that do drags and they do stuff. One of the ways that we were controlled it back in the day is that the only people you hung out with that you made sure got a call to know that meet or that drag or whatever, other than the strip itself. And even then it was still controlled to a certain amount. People didn't drive 40 minutes to get there. At most they drove 20 minutes. But the idea is you could control because the word wasn't out there. It wasn't widely known that you were going to have this big car show or whatever. And there was less word of mouth, if you will. Today, what I've seen people doing is they've said, you know what, I'm going to, like you said, VIP. I'm going to set up registration. I'm going to control, instead of just making it a flood, then just say, you know, I'm going to control who comes. And that's the thing is people, I'm going to vent a little bit here. I constantly hear people that run meets and run these events get on and complain that the people that are showing up for their event are ruining their event. And the thing that I have to say is never run something and blame the people that are supporting you for the problem, because you end up hitting everybody. You as a leader should be able to take control of that and say, okay, that guy's not welcome here. That guy does burnouts. Okay, then control it so that people don't come in. If your events are being destroyed because people are doing burnouts or somebody in there that gives you, I had one guy that I talked to probably about 3 months ago, and he says, every time this guy comes to my show, there's a problem. And I go, then why is he getting invited to your show? Why are you not controlling?
And why are you letting him in?
Right. You know what? I got an idea. Make a Facebook group. Make something. Do something to control the people that are coming into your environment, and you can change your environment.
It comes down to exactly what Tony Torres said, that, you know, if you're running an event that you're actually planning 4 different locations to go to because you're anticipating problems,
right?
You're not doing. You're
the problem.
You're the
not
problem.
Not the people.
You are definitely the problem, not the people. You are definitely the problem about like how you are planning and how you are curating your group of people to come to your event. And I think that's important. And it's important to the point of also being very clear. You know, and here's the thing, if you're literally running an event and you're saying we're going to have 4 locations in case we get kicked out, you're condoning that at that point. And you might as well just say, you know, do whatever you want, kind of thing. And that's not going to help your cause, and it's not going to further your event by any means. And matter of fact, that's going to make your event be done.
But am I?
very
I mean,
quickly.
and anybody here can sound off on this, and I want to hear your input. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm okay with that. But what I want to see here is that I'm sure if somebody goes to was it Import Evolution, there's a process that people look at and say, okay, this is the kind of cars we want. David, if you ran a show, I'm sure you'd have a group, and people would probably say, okay, these are the people coming, these are the people I don't want. And maybe it's just a character thing. In other words, I had the show with the Silver City, and everybody's like, well, how did you make it so that nobody ever caused a problem? And I said, people aren't going to come to my show that are going to try to make a problem, because they know I'm never going to let them back if they do it. So that's the thing is you guys give me input on different options of way to do it. Is it just character? Is it just controlling who shows up to the show? Or is there something else to say, how do you control these people from coming in that are ruining your show?
The main thing that you need to do is to let everyone know that there is zero tolerance.
Yes.
Zero tolerance, and you need a team. You can't do it by yourself.
Right.
Yes.
You can't say you're going to host a car show or a car meet and have over 300 cars show up, and you're just one individual.
Yep.
I've been doing car shows for multiple years.
Right.
I've been doing meets for multiple years. We have zero tolerance.
Right.
And I let it be known from the beginning to the end.
Yep.
It's zero tolerance. And if someone wants to test us, I have a staff of 30, 40 people that's walking around the areas, making everyone's having a good time. And you have to make a presence. People need to see that there's a presence within your event. If you don't have that presence, that's you're allowing someone. You're allowing this new era, because it's all this new era. This new era, people want to do two-steps, or they want to do burnouts. They want to show off what they have. If you allow that one person to do it, it's going to be a chain reaction.
Is it Javier, is it easier to control? You do a lot of indoor events. Is it easier to control an indoor event more so than an outdoor event, or is it kind of just make new problems?
It's both the same thing, pretty much. It's all in the respect that you're going to put. It's the respect that you put out there, like Tony just said. It's a respect thing. Right. Again, he does outdoor events, and he has the possibility. He can have the chance of people acting up, but he has a staff. He has a staff walking around his event. They make a presence. Yeah. It's not. I won't call it. It is a respect thing. Right. Mm-hmm. But you have to make sure that.
There has to be a self-awareness within the show.
Yeah, when one person acts up, you let that one person know this is it. There's no first, second strike. This is it. It's the same thing in an indoor show. Indoor show, you expect people to, when they're leaving, everybody wants a two-step, or someone wants to try to burn out inside of the arena. That's when you let them know what goes on. I mean, there's been plenty of times at a show, I've taken the keys away from somebody and saying, I'll talk to you at the end of the show.
Wow.
I remember that. I was there. I heard that. I heard that. Yeah.
I did a me at Easy Pie, and Easy Pie is in Revere, and this one kid did a burnout. What did I do? I walked up to the kid. I personally knew the kid. Wow. The cop came up to me and was like, "What you want to do?" I was like, "Hey, he did what we don't allow. Give him a ticket." Yeah, he was upset with me, but I let them know that it's. There is no bending rules. There's no, you're my friend. Okay, I'm gonna let you slide. Because if I let one person slide, it's a domino effect.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing too is I would look at somebody that's my friend and say, if they go, I did wrong by putting them on the place like that, I would say, what, as a friend, you should understand this is where the friendship lies. You would respect my piece of land as much as I respect. You don't come into my house and destroy my house, so I don't come into your house and destroy your house. So you know what? Hey, if you come in and you do something, then there are ramifications no matter how good our friendship is.
And it comes down to like every single show that starts. I mean, yeah, there's like maybe a couple shows that start up with like 400 cars like on their first show kind of thing. But that's not the end game. Like no car show ever says, I only want 400 cars to show up.
Right. Yeah.
You want to grow the brand. You want to grow the scene. You want to grow the caliber of cars that come to your event kind of thing. So for any friend of yours that shows up to your event that you're trying to grow says a whole lot about that type or that friend, and what type of friend that they are trying to destroy what you're trying to build.
Well, you just made a great segue there too, Joel, is when we did a show, and I'm going to say in the 70s, if you had a show that had 100 cars, that was a great car show. If you had a meet and we had 5 cars, that was a great meet. Like we had 5 guys that would drive around in some old cars, and remember we had T models and all the way up to like the lead sleds and that kind of thing. And then as it moved along, it was still the idea of saying these events didn't have the word big has been redefined and blown out of proportion. Now, today, we have the advent of Instagram. Somebody, and all the time, somebody will make a new group on Facebook and tell me, you know what, I got 1,200 people that are members of my club or my thing. No, they're not a member of your club. You just put a group out, invited 1,200 people, and they all joined. There's no loyalty there. You don't know who those people are. Versus if I go to one of the lowrider clubs and I say, how many people are going to show up to those clubs? They said, we have 13 members. And I go, okay, how many showing up? They go, 13 members. Yeah. They're all showing up. They know each other. They know each other by name. They know their family. Everything. I mean, Reggie, tell me I'm wrong in that mini truck guys. You talk to those guys, they know each other's families, they know the kids' ages, birthdays, all this crazy stuff. And to put it into perspective, today, if somebody said, I'm going to have a meet, and you go, oh, I didn't have 300, 400 cars, no wonder you can't control it. You don't know who's even showing up to your thing again. So, I think
the mark of a good like Facebook group or even like a club is if you go to their, whether it's their Facebook group or if they have a website for their club, or even if they're handing out like a PDF flyer or a printed flyer kind of thing. If they actually have like where they're actually scheduling, like I'll give an example of like the East Coast Camaro Club will actually say that they are heading to another specific show as a group.
Exactly.
Kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And these guys are planning months in advance to hit that show. So they know, like if you called them up and said, hey, how many guys are coming from East Coast Camaro Club? And they'll instantly be able to say, well, we know we at least have at a minimum, we have 20 Camaros showing up, or 20 members of our group showing up with a car kind of thing. And they know. And it's the same thing with like, some of the face group, I think that it's a mark of a good group. Like when I go on to like a Facebook club, and I suddenly see that they've got like another show listed as an event, and then they've got a separate event that's saying, hey, we're meeting here to then head to that event. Right. That's the kind of thing that I love to see.
And that's the beauty. Like, well, I go to a car show and I see, okay, that's team. This team,
Diablo is like a good example.
This team, like you see all these different teams and clubs and crews, and it's like I go over and you start knowing the group, and obviously there are people that come and go, but that's the thing is they still have this. There's still clubs out there that are very strong knit. I just want to read Jamie Kelly's post here real quick, and I like this. I think before people wanted to be in the scene. Now most people just want to be seen. They want to do the burnout that goes viral, etc. And it's being selfish. And I think that's the great. We're now into the social media, Instagram. How many hits can I get, and how much attention? You know what I mean, David?
There's the irony, isn't it? I mean, like, how many times are we going to watch a Mustang spin out off of the freaking road before we say, "Don't do that"? Or how many Corvettes are we going to see spin out off the road when they're leaving an event because they're an idiot kind of thing? And you go, don't be that viral guy.
Right. And David, you've been quiet. You're going to go. I gave you a little platform here, and I'm going to jump over to Brandon too, because Brandon's been sitting there and they're patiently waiting, I think. But what do you have to say?
No, I'm just going to jump all the way back to what Javier said. And one of those things about meets and everything in general is if you're starting something new, it doesn't hurt to go and talk to the people that have been doing it for a long time.
Exactly.
You go to an import evolution show, it's well run, it's done well, and you have he doesn't have people that run the show. He has a family that he has that runs it, and these are people that he's known for a long time. That way, it's a cohesive unit. that runs a show and you don't have problems.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to go out there and say, hey, how do you do this? Or how did you do this? So that I can do this also in my way that I want to do it. It doesn't hurt to go out and ask questions and kind of, copy what they're doing to make sure that you're doing the right thing instead of making the mistakes that they've already done in the past and make it a little bit easier.
I think you make an awesome point, and I think the best way to word it is like ask for a mentor.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask for a mentor for like how do I get a same caliber show that you have? I admire what you have. I want to do the same kind of thing. Can you mentor me on how to do that? Can you help me do, get even at a starting point of that?
Yeah, and
it may not be as large, but it's a start, right?
Well,
it's just a start.
That's what I'm thinking of is the starting point. Like Import Evolution they're up here now. There's always that street level, pretty much, the local level that wants to start out and do what they did back then and gradually grow to what Import Evolution. It never hurts to have more successful car shows in clubs and groups. It just helps the community grow. So yeah, if you, like you said, having a mentor, talking to them and helping you grow your brand, I'm all for that. Just it doesn't hurt to ask anybody that's out there that knows what they've done and they can give you the advice, because if they've done it successfully for years, decades, that's the best teachers you can have out there to help you say, hey, do it this way and don't do it that way. Because if you don't have the respect, like I said, Javier and everybody that we know a bunch of people in the car community that they don't let any BS slide. They're like, hey, this is how we do our car shows.
Well, you said a lot for Javier right now. If I want to give him the platform right there, and from what he's heard, kind of give us some input. And do you have anything to add to that or correct or?
See, the only thing I say about being a mentor and helping somebody, we're all in the car scene. We're all like doing the events. This is a cutthroat event.
Right.
Anybody who knows how to run something could try to do something better than you. Yeah. So I mean, I've done that plenty of years. I've given plenty of advices. And some of them come back to bite me, and some of them, I see people succeeding in what they're doing, right. And I will give advice, but I'm very limited in what I give advice. I try to keep myself in my own lane. Right. I focus on what I got going on. And when someone asks me, there's a couple of new guys now out there trying to do events, and how do I start off? Do I have to register my name? And it's like, it's not supposed to say registering your name. Is if you're going to have an organization, just make sure that if you're planning a meet, or obviously a meet, if you're getting a meet, get permission from the property owner. Right.
It's the most basic thing.
Yeah,
it really is.
If you go into a business with respect, and you say, "Hey, listen, I'm interested in doing this. Would you allow me to have this?" And the business owner says, "I'll allow you to have 50 cars." Show that guy that you'll bring in 50 cars and control it. Right. And then if he sees that you control 50 cars, hey, you know what? What do you think if we do 100 cars this time around? Yep. It's baby steps.
But I like how you said that too. That was all about control. You had everything was planned out, plotted before it happened. And one thing that I heard in your what you were saying there, and I have to repeat it because it's so important, is that there's certain things I hand out and certain things I keep close to my chest. But the last thing about that is some of the reasons we do that is because and correct if I'm right or wrong on this, is that I can bring a horse to water, but I can't make him drink.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's really the thing. A lot of people, we go out there and we say, Javier will go out there and he's got a big heart. He's going to go out there and help somebody. And we say these things to you guys. And if you're not listening and you're not paying attention and you just want to do your show your way, then congratulations, you get to fall the same way we did when we did our stuff. And sometimes those are going to be painful falls that require that can damage character permanently.
Yeah.
Every show you do, you should say, my name is on the line, and make sure that the people that are running it with you understand that I'm not going to let my name get smeared because you guys want to do whatever you want to do. I'm going to make sure that everything gets plotted, planned, done right, and that's the way it is. And we see the results, right?
Right.
I've been doing this for years. There's a lot of other people out there that's been doing it for years, and they're becoming to be heavy hitters as well.
Yep.
I mean, you guys say that I'm up here on top. I'm not on top. There's a lot more that I want to achieve.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people out there that are lateral to me. I mean, they're not taking the next step because they're comfortable where they're at. But
right,
I'm that type of person that I want to take that next step. I want to see what happens. Yep. You know, I want to be in Texas. I want to be in California. I want to make all those moves. I don't know nobody out there, but I still want to make those moves.
Yep.
That's how you learn. I didn't know nobody in Florida, and my first show, scared as hell.
Yep. That's the beauty of it, is that no matter how many times you've done it, no matter how big or small you are, that next show is always cringe level fear, right?
Every show, it's anybody who knows me will get ulcers. Every show, the day before the show, I got bubble guts. I'm scared as hell.
Yep.
Are you like a tyrant too, like where you're yelling at everybody and making sure everything is perfect, kind of thing?
I am definitely that diva. Everyone's throwing Snicker bars at me, telling me because I need but I'm getting better as we go.
Nice. Well, that's the thing is that, people always like, is there any time that it gets easier? And I'm like, no, you took the responsibility of this. You want to be, you want to put your name up in lights, and you want to make change in a community or present something or give everybody that next big thing. No, it doesn't ever stop. It doesn't ever change, but we do it, I think, because we enjoy it. So, I mean, we like torture.
There is nothing easy.
We're masochists.
Putting on any of these events. No matter how flawless you try to make it, there's always something that just throws you off, and you're trying to do. So there's absolutely nothing easy. And whenever people say, well, I'm going to do my own show, by all means, please do so, and you're going to see what we go through.
Do it better than me. Feel free, right?
All day. I mean, we need more shows out here.
That's right.
We need to pick up this network.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing and I said that before to everybody. Everybody's like, well, why are you promoting other people to be big or to get into this? Don't you want to be the biggest? And I said, that's how we get bigger, because
exactly.
if you want to be the next big thing, you got to make sure the shelf is filled with other stuff that people can get into, so that you have a world out there to have this big thing. People got to be into cars for them to want to show up to a show. So no, there's plenty of room at the top, and
I think it's more fundamental than that, Alan. I think it's more fundamental in the fact that it's not, contrary to popular opinion, it's not a small world.
Yeah,
right. To actually like point a better picture on it, it was like just in New England or something like that, where you can have a car show the same day as another car show that's in Connecticut, and then have the same kind of car show in New Hampshire, and you're just attracting whether it's going to be more local or more distant, depending on which one. I think the competition might be a little bit of, well, I might have a little bit more entertainment for the kids, or I might cater to more of the import versus more the domestic kind of thing.
But my thing that I kind of add to that is that, so take the population of wherever you live, whatever state, and remember,
that's where I was going. Yeah,
and remember that 6 to 12% of that population will come out with a car and present at a show. When you look at that number, you go, wow, why are only 300 people showing up? That is the question that I like to ask all the time, is why aren't these people coming out? The people, and that's the thing is it's not just people with, the amount of people with totally done up impressive cars is a very, very small number in comparison to those out there. But, there's guys that just own I own a Hellcat or I own a whatever. There's tons of cars out there that come straight from the factory now that look incredible. And I want those people to have a place to go to say,
Well,
let's share it,
I think, we're one of the things that I want my website to be a tool for many of the people who are running car shows is, and I think you and I were talking like a couple of days ago, and you had actually called me and said, listen, Joel, we're thinking about what are good dates. And I was actually stunned because I was like, that's great that you actually called me to say like, hey, what dates are good? And you and I discussed a couple of dates kind of thing, because, and one of the comments that you made, which I thought like hit home so hard. If you haven't nailed a date down for your event now and have it out, advertised or whatever, you might as well just like not expect like a ton of people coming to your event at this point right now. You have to nail your event down realistically even before February, and that's the latest. Right. You should actually nail that date the day after your last event. Like, so in other words, if you're having an event on May, what is it, May 15th, which we've proclaimed to be the biggest day right now, I think, and that's not even really.
Martin.
There's at least 12, 13, 14 different car shows that are happening on that day all throughout New England.
Yep.
If you're running a car show that day, the next day you're meeting with your group to close out, and say, here's how many cars we did, here's how many cars we had, and by the way, next year it's going to be May 16th.
Right.
And you should be advertising that immediately so that you get that bigger crowd, coming kind of thing. And you have to do that. And, if you're starting a show, that's where I kind of want my website to shine, is where like people can then look at my list and go, oh, gee, here's like a weekend in August that only has like 6 other shows that like there's 5 in Maine, but none in Connecticut. I should start a show for you. Like if I live in Connecticut, I should start a show that day, kind of thing.
And then there comes a point when you're like Bass Pro and people are literally chomping at the bit, waiting for those big. And it's not just for New England. Like, in other words, all these different areas. From, I know in Florida they have it, in Austin they have it, the different places in Texas. Brandon, let me know a couple of those too. Even in Canada they have them. Is you have these events that are weekly, bi-weekly. Car meets that people literally chomp at the bit waiting they literally sit at their computer waiting for this event.
I can't tell you how many times I got an email that was saying, when is Bass Pro Shops starting? Right. And they were asking me in January.
Right, exactly.
Like, they're asking me in January when that's happening. And they wait literally until about 3 weeks before.
Yeah. And that never happened, by the way, in the 80s. And there was no NewEnglandAutoShows.com back then. And the thing is, and you see it right now, working on websites like that and event-centric promotion right now is still, in my opinion, in its infancy. If somebody out there in the U.S. nationally, even the world out there, if you have a website that you know the secret of how to do this promotion thing, and it is what it is. I really would like.
Honestly, I still don't know the secret by any means. Right. I think that, when I was kind of like looking into getting into what I was doing, I saw a lot of examples of different websites that were doing what I was doing, or started to do what I was doing, but never really kind of carried on. I think I totally understand it, because there are times where I've actually said, this is just too much. I go, there's too many dates, and then the problem is like getting the car show, the people who run the shows themselves to embrace me and say, oh, I'm going to go to Joel and tell him what date my event is, and like I said, like 80 to 90% of the people that have car shows, they don't even know that I have their show listed. And like I guarantee you,
and that's what I'm saying. We need to get ahead of it and have it so that people know.
Shops, they have no, or MACC, they have zero clue that I probably have their shows.
Yes, we do. You can't bring up Mac. I'm a board director, bro. board member that
Yeah,
is.
but I bet you. If you
I know
walked
you
up,
exist.
right? But there's like probably like how many members, and probably maybe like 5% of your members actually know what.
Well, you'd be amazed. I'll you know what? At some point, me and you will talk, and I've had this conversation. I don't think you heard it when I brought it up before, but a lot more people know than you think. But Brandon, you've been sitting over there patiently, just sitting in the corner. Do you have any input for us before we close it out for tonight?
Just kind of listening to you guys, man. We kind of got off subject a little bit, but here's my thing. You guys are asking how to control your event.
Yeah.
What we need to do is you got to do invite only.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's the only way it works. I've done like car meets and stuff like that. And it was by invite only, and when you do that, what we've done in the past is find out who they were, a phone number, and then what kind of vehicle they were bringing. That way, we had eyes on everything that was going down. If Joe Bob in his 54 Ford whatever was doing burnouts in the parking lot, someone like, oh, hey, it was this color Ford. We knew exactly who it was. We'd X them out. That's just the easiest way it goes. And if they don't want to do it, they don't want to give you the information, they don't have to go. Right. What we had is we had, 2 entrances, one entrance, one exit. We had guys sitting there hanging out. When I pulled up to the meet to come hang out, they checked in. Hey, I'm so-and-so. We look on there, see who we said that was coming. They were there. All right, cool. Come on in. Well, hey, my buddy wants to come up, and say hi, and visit whatever. All right, cool. Who is he? Give him my contact information. We talked to him, let him know, like, everybody said, zero tolerance for anything. Because here's the first thing that's going to happen. You're going to start having these car meets, whether it's controlled or not. And whenever you're gone, somebody's going to drive by and they're going to do a burnout in that parking lot. And guess what? You're still getting blamed for it, whether it was your guys at the event or not. Mm-hmm. And trust is a huge thing with these guys here. Like you guys are saying, let's start out with 50 cars. Everything goes good, 100 cars, and then you grow there. It sucks. Like I've been there and I've had people I thought I trusted, and there's people driving down the highway and they sneak in or whatever, and they go in there and start doing stupid stuff. And it ruined it for a lot of people. I actually quit putting on events, just because the fact is I don't want my name being associated with it because, not that I can't control the people that come in there or whatever, but there's always going to be that one person that's a hater because you said no, and they're going to go on the main street and do something stupid, cause a wreck, whatever it may be, and it still comes back on you, to the landowner or whatever it is. Right. Oh, they were saying they were coming from this event here. No, they weren't coming from my event. Well, that's what they said. It's all hearsay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I have an algorithm from YouTube to or all these other places too to keep up with. So we try to keep it under an hour. Reggie, do you have any closing thoughts before I close everything out?
Yeah, Brandon's a control freak.
I've heard that about him. Yes, very much so. In fact, he has voice control. It's very out there. If you go to controlfreakcompany.com, you might actually see it. See, press the button. See, it's working.
So listen, I actually just got my old truck back like a week ago, and we're fixing to revamp the whole truck. We're going to do a lot more new stuff with it, with Control Freak showing it off. I originally had an 8-channel in there. We're putting a 16 in there now. So y'all stay tuned, and maybe the next video live we do next weekend, I'll be able to show you guys Control Freak working.
I am looking forward to it. Absolutely. Yes, Reggie.
Import Evolution, thank you for coming in tonight. I've been trying to get him in here for a while, and I appreciate him taking the time to stop in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
We love you, my man. We love you. You know that.
Yeah, door's always open.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, Reggie, go ahead. Reggie?
Keep going.
Go ahead, Reggie.
He said the doors are always open. I said, yeah, just not to my bathroom.
Oh, look, you can call me anytime you want, just don't call me late for supper. Anyway, that has been the ECS Hangout from ECS Magazine tonight. I want to thank you guys for taking a look at this. Don't forget, like, subscribe, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Hit it while the show is going on. If you're not seeing this live, that's okay. Hit it anyway. Don't forget there's a bell icon over there. That'll keep you updated on any new stuff that we come out. If you're on Facebook, hit the like. All that stuff brings it over. So this has been ECS Hangout every Saturday, 8 p.m. I want to thank Reggie putting on being the awesome producer for ECS Magazine and ECS Hangout, Joel Chappell of NewEnglandAutoShows.com, David Morgan of Nexus New England, Javier Electro of Import Evolution, and as always, Brandon from Control Freak, our awesome sponsor. We will see you guys next week, Saturday, 8 p.m. Don't miss it. We're out.
Beep.